Okay, folks, there's something I want to talk about today, and I've spoken about this before, but it's race. We hear a lot about race in America today, pretty constantly, actually. You can just take a look at the television and you can see some talking head or some politician talking about race. As I've said before, I feel like I have a very unique perspective on race in America because I'm a half breed, or more accurately, I'm a tri-breed. My mom's Hispanic and Chinese. My dad is white. I look mostly like my father, but if you look at pictures of my mom, back in the 50s and 60s, she looks like she could be from Southeast Asia, because she's half Hispanic and half Chinese. I have relatives that look very white. I have relatives that look very brown, like as brown as somebody from Mexico. And I have relatives that look very yellow, like, they're Asian, because I do. And I feel like that gives me a very interesting, unique perspective on race, especially in America. We're a melting pot. America is a melting pot. But today we have politicians and TV talking heads who talk about race pretty constantly. We have politicians daily that are talking about white supremacy, like the evil of white supremacy. And while I believe that still exists in pockets, I also feel that they're greatly exaggerating the amount of white supremacy in our country still. And I say that from experience. I'm well traveled. I crisscrossed America, probably 20, 30 times, and most of that was in my 20s when I was 25, 26, 27 years old. I was traveling constantly. I flew across this country a lot. I drove in a bus across it a lot. I rode in a van across America constantly. And now, while that was a few years ago, I saw pockets of racism here and there. I ran into some guys in the South that were racists, but I've also ran into racists in this country right here in my hometown of Denver that were not white. They weren't white. I've ran into brown racists. That's a fact. I'm sorry, but it's a fact. I've ran into black racists. Unfortunately, some of my relatives, that were brown, were pretty racist. It's just a fact. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry, actually, because it's the truth. My mom also has met. She's been around, different family members that were racist. They were racist towards her, and they were yellow. They were Asian, and they were racist towards her because she's brown or half brown. A few years ago, I was playing at the Colorado Black Arts Festival, City Park, and when I walked through the gate, a young black man uh, made a joke about wasps because I was walking through, and another white lady and her black husband were walking through the entrance, and this young man made a joke about wasps. If you know what that is, WASPS, white Anglo Saxon Protestant. And what he meant by that, he said a wasp's nest. There's a wasp nest here. That's a racist remark against white people. I'm sure this young black man had no idea that I'm a half breed, but he knew that I was playing at that event, which is black music, celebrating black music in Denver, and I was there, the white looking dude playing at it, and he insulted me and another white lady going through the gate. I've ran into brown racists in this country. I was playing a gig at the Los Angeles Convention Center. It was a Christian event. and it was an all Spanish speaking Christian event. And some brown pastor came up to myself and the trumpet player, and he said to us, "Hey, what are you guys doing here? You don't belong here. You don't belong at this event. What are you doing here?" And he was angry. He said, "You don't belong here. This is for us." And he had no idea that I had Hispanic blood in my veins, and so did the trumpet player. And he just came up and he was pissed off. This dude, pastor, he said, "This is our event. You guys don't belong here." He was racist as hell. And so I know for a fact that there are racists in this country, but not all of them are white. That's just a fact. And yet white people are the ones that are called racist most of the time. That's a fact too. We got politicians today, including the president, Joe Biden, who says, well, white supremacy is always raising its ugly head. White supremacy is the greatest threat to America today. That's a flat out bullshit lie. I'm sorry. It's a lie. I hate liars, and he's a liar. White supremacy is not the greatest threat in America today. That's a stupid lie. These people are using race to divide us all, and you need to wake up and see that. People like Joe Biden, Obama, he did the same thing. Derided white people. Joe Biden, uh, a guy who spoke the eulogy at Robert Byrd's funeral, who was once a KKK member, is talking about white supremacy. He is the white supremacist. He's a liar. And there's a lot of people like him, and then the media perpetrates it. You need to wake up and see these things. Sure, there's pockets of white supremacy. I've seen it, but there's pockets of black supremacy too. Louis Farrakhan, for one. Louis Farrakhan. He's been around since the 60s. Very racist black dude. Racist against whites, racist against Americans. There have been black racist, black supremacists. The black Hebrew Israelites. They're black racists. Are you going to, do you ignore all that, Joe Biden? You ignore that stuff? There are brown racists in this country. La Raza. I know because I've had relatives like that. I know what I'm talking about. And yet, people like Joe Biden and others like him use race as a wedge. They use it as a tool to divide us, to put us in little racial groups and fighting each other all the time. You see, because that gives them an edge. That gives these politicians and these so-called leaders, who are really a bunch of liars, it gives them an advantage over us, the American people. And it creates a wedge that we start hating each other because, if we're divided, we're much easier to control for people like Joe Biden and Barack Obama and leftist Democrats who like to use race as a wedge. Those guys are the racists. They are the racists. And yet, millions of people in this country still listen to them. They let them divide us. And then the media pushes it, perpetrates it. White supremacy is not the biggest threat in this country. I'll tell you what the biggest threat in this country is liars like Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and people like them. Lying socialist left-wing dividers who want to divide us all up into little classes and divide us up into little groups, racial groups, and fighting each other because that way we're easier to control for those people. Don't buy it. Out.